your son and your wife, when I asked each of them what their favorite memories were from your career, both immediately said the offseason in which you acquired Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. How does that rank for you?
Well, it would be like, I guess, a poverty-stricken family wakes up one morning and all of a sudden, overnight, they become the wealthiest couple in the world. It was like one of the most elated periods in my life when we signed Shaquille O'Neal, because I worked so hard in doing that, establishing a relationship with him over the phone.
Okay.
And we had we had just developed a great rapport.
And what was involved with that?
Well, it wasn't always about basketball. It wasn't always about basketball. And I like the kid. I like to have fun with people. I don't take myself seriously. I never have. I couldn't do that. And even today, when I see him, it's like, oh my God, here's one of my really big kids, okay? But I also told our owner that night, I said, look, I think we got the best player in the draft. And an 18-year-old kid, actually 17. And we could not sign him to a contract for about 3 months because he's only 17 years old. And people always ask about that. Well, it wasn't in vogue to draft these young kids. It was not in vogue. And it took a lot to get him, a lot of hard work. And I remember after that was done and the draft was done, I had to go in a hospital for 3 days. I was just emotionally spent and exhausted.
Because of how hard you were working to get
just,
Kobe and Shaquille?
Again, I don't sleep, okay? It was one day to me, I went to see the doctor, and he said, the day after that, he said, we're gonna have to put you in a hospital. And I was there for 3 days, and I mean, I was absolutely listless. I have no energy at all, and again, I've always been a high energy person. But that was the start of another great run for the Lakers, and two of the greatest players that we've had.
How close did you and Kobe become?
First 2 or 3 years were very close. As I say, I've always paid attention to younger players, and I think he in particular, my kids, drove him around Los Angeles, and he didn't have a car, and he's 17 years old, so it's pretty funny to think a kid that we thought was the #1 pick. I thought he was the #1 pick in the draft, and our staff thought he was the #1 pick in the draft. And to watch my kids drive him around, I thought this was pretty funny.
Why do you think it was so difficult for Kobe and Shaquille to coexist?
Good question. I've often thought that if you watch teams, let's say somebody has a great player and he's a little bit older, and you've got this young, up-and-coming star, and all of a sudden that young, up-and-coming star, you start to look at him as being the equal of the other player in terms of ability, not in size, but ability. And I think that Kobe Bryant played every game like he didn't like anyone he played against, which I loved. He didn't like fraternization, which I loved. And Shaquille was like a big teddy bear who smiled, but you put him in a game where something was on the line, and you wouldn't want to play against Shaquille O'Neal. He was just so physical and so strong, and he had great footwork for a guy his size. And Kobe Bryant, at his position, was like a Shaquille O'Neal, and he kind of played the game with force too for a young kid. And I think the combination of Kobe wanting to exert himself more than he had, and Shaquille being very vocal about who he was, and sometimes kidding ways, and always some kind of a new nickname for himself. I think those two different personalities had to clash somewhere along the way. I didn't think they'd ever clash to the extent they did.
Tell about the letter you wrote to both of them.
Well, not only letters, but I just, I tried to explain to them that they were so good for each other, and they're going to have different kind of people rooting for them. And I basically said to them that this is really ridiculous. I said, this is about winning and winning championships, which when you look back in your career, a lot of people are going to judge you because of that.